The name of that song is titled Out Here Now and is the title cut of the new album by my special guest today, Kelcy Mae Willburn. Kelcy, thank you and welcome to the Friday Afternoon Music Mix.
Thanks so much, Greg. I'm so happy to be here.
It's great to have you here as well. I received your sophomore album from your radio promoter, Joe Swank, who I think a lot of, and I was bowled away by the music on here. It's this album is absolutely beautiful, Kelcy, and you cross some genres in here, from Americana, some ballads, roots music, a little bit of everything in here. Tell me a little bit about what inspired you. I know you've had your first album that came out was titled The Place That You Call Home, and that came out in 2018 that you recorded under Evermore Nest. Tell me a little bit about your songwriting and your recording process. I'd love to know.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for the compliment on the album. It was a real joy to make, and I'm so happy that people have been pleased with it, and that people like you are playing it. So, first of all, thank you. In terms of my songwriting and process, it's I'm not a very disciplined songwriter. I'll be honest. I'm not somebody who sets a specific time every day to sit down and write, which is probably something I should do. But I'm one of those songwriters that I think just tries to listen to whatever the universe has to say and be a translator, so to speak. Sometimes it's lyrics first, sometimes it's music first. Usually it's probably the music. Yeah, it just there's no one particular way. Some songs will take about an hour to write, and those are always a gift when that happens, when the muse comes and just says, here you go. But other songs on this record, I can think of one in particular called Wishing Well that probably took me, I don't know, 6 or 7 years before I kind of felt like it was actually a complete song.
That's great. You have some artists that have collaborated with you on not only this album, but your first album as well, that I can tell you made me raise my eyebrows because I think highly of them. And one of them, of course, is Will Kimbrough, who is an extremely talented artist. The second one really made my eyebrows come up, and that's Fats Kaplan, who who is just an amazing individual. I've been following him for years, not only his solo work, but also the work that he did with Kieran Kane and Kevin Welch when the albums Kane, Welch, Kaplan. You snagged some good ones for this, didn't you?
I consider myself one of the luckiest people in the world for being able to work with Will Kimbrough and Fats Kaplan. And I have to give credit to the producer on these two records, my two Evermore Nest records, who is Nielsen Hubbard. And Nielsen Hubbard is just this incredible individual who has kind of curated this unique group of musicians that he's able to pull in. It's just this wonderful kind of, all of them are so humble, so easy to work with, and just insanely talented. Will Kimbrough plays on this record. He's all the lead guitar, all the banjo, and all the mandolin, and some piano, I think. I mean, he's just an absolute wizard when it comes to music. The good thing that happened for me is because we worked on that first record, The Place That You Call Home, that came out in 2018, and that was my first time working with Nielsen and working with his crew of musicians that he wanted to bring in, including Will. And because of that experience, it made the second album just way more meaningful and fun, because I knew what to expect going into the studio, and I knew how talented everybody was. And it was just fun to be able to kind of create these atmospheric sounds and really get all the different textures and tones that I was looking for. These guys just make it absolutely so easy.
That's great. That's terrific. That is. Where is Nielsen's studio, Kelcy?
So we record at a studio called Skinny Elephant Recording, which is located in East Nashville. And I believe that Nielsen originally built that studio himself, but then sold it to an incredible sound engineer named Dylan Aldridge. I think Dylan and Nielsen worked together on most of Nielsen's projects, as far as I can tell. And so, yeah, it's a really awesome experience and I'm so glad it worked out for them that, Nielsen gets to keep recording in this place that was always special to him. And that, and Dylan has just taken it above and beyond in terms of capabilities and technology and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, Nielsen has done terrific job on producing this. The production is just nearly flawless. It's really good. I
Oh,
mean, it
thank you.
stands right out. It really does. The first thing I wondered when I heard it before I did the research online was I thought, who produced this? This is really super. Did a
Well,
great
it's
job.
funny that you say that because the way that I first heard of Nielsen was had put out a few records under the name Kelcy Mae. I think the last one came out in 2014. And at that point, I was kind of at a turning point in my life and in my music, and I knew I wanted to go in a new direction and kind of really more play in this Americana world and have this kind of roots music, country music influence really shine through. I heard an album called Spades and Roses by the artist Caroline Spence, who I'm sure some of your listeners are familiar with. That album was produced by Nielsen Hubbard. And when I heard that album, I had the same reaction you just had about mine. I said, who produced this? This is absolutely stunning. And so I Googled it and I just blindly sent Nielsen an email, and that's how this whole thing started.
He's one of those guys that's kind of like Rick Rubin. Once you hear his name and the work that he's done, it's kind of like, oh,
Right. Exactly.
yeah, it sure is. That's great. Hey, let's do a second song from that album that you've chosen, the new one called Out Here Now. This is titled Coming Along. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds great. This is one of my favorites.
Driving through Texas, I get that feeling again. Watching the last leaves hold fast to their crooked limbs. We're stringing all the cities like Christmas lights on a tree. And if you show me to the bedroom, I'll show you all the sights I've seen. I'm coming along. Oh. Coming along, somewhere in the darkness there's a moon hanging low. It's hovering in stillness beneath the earth's shadow. And sitting by the roadside, I can feel the wolves cry. Staring at my inside, staring at this perfect line. I'm coming along. Oh, oh, coming along. Oh, oh. Always staring out of windows when I wanna be and have you somewhere past the fence line. Somewhere beyond the trees, buried beneath the skyline. Somewhere wild and free. I'm coming along. I'm coming along. Time is the thief that keeps me up in the night. Always one step ahead and always ready to take what's mine. There's no stopping the spin, there's no killing the light. That we're all stuck in skin, a prisoner to just one life. I'm coming along. Coming along. Coming along. Coming
Another beautiful song from that album, Kelsey. Tell me a little bit. I know New Orleans is your base now for Evermore Nest and your band, but you're originally from North Louisiana.
Yeah, exactly. I grew up, was born and raised in Shreveport, Louisiana, which is just east of Dallas, Texas. And Shreveport is a kind of a Bible Belt city with, it's very got an East Texas feel more so than maybe like a South Louisiana feel. When I turned 18, I was ready to, I don't know, look for some new adventures. So I took off for New Orleans, went to college there, and I've been there ever since.
That's great. And the music that comes from the Crescent City is just amazing. I mean, it crosses every line, doesn't it? I mean, you've got Zydeco, you've got Cajun, you've got Americana, you've got big band sound, jazz. I mean, it's all there. What an influence.
Oh, absolutely. It is not hard to find influence in this city. And it's a really interesting place to live because it's probably the most magical place in the world, but it's also extraordinarily heartbreaking. We have a lot of struggles that we face here, a lot of challenges the city faces. So, I mean, everything from, like the vibrancy and the revelry from, you know, that attitude, that side of New Orleans and the festival season, everything from that to, just absolute despair, uh, it's so you run the gamut. So it's real easy to be inspired, whether you're trying to, write something upbeat or you're feeling pretty down.
I understand. You've got a bunch of gigs coming up. I know some shows in New Orleans in September, and then October, it looks like you're going to do a little tour of the Northeast of the United States. Then November, you're going to be at a place that I've been to several times, but not to listen to music. But it's a quaint little town over on the other side of Lake Pontchartrain called Abita Springs.
Hmm.
And you're doing
Yeah,
the Fall Fest over there.
yeah, Beat a Fall Fest. We're excited about that.
Yeah, for the home of Abita beer.
Hmm. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. I had a dear friend, he's deceased now, but lived in Covington, and I used to go down and visit him quite a bit. Then I did a lot of work in the New Orleans area as well.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's a vibrant area, as you
For
said.
sure.
I want to talk about a little bit some of the accolades that you have gotten over the last 5 years or so. Your first album, which was once again the place that you call home, there was a song on there that you wrote called Major Tom. It was a semifinalist for the International Songwriting Competition, as well as the Unsigned Only Music Competition. That's pretty good, isn't
I'll take it.
it? That's great. And this new album, I noticed, I read a wonderful review in No Depression. They really enjoyed it as well. So it sounds like you're finally getting that recognition that you really deserve.
Oh, I appreciate that. Music is a long, hard road. This
Yeah,
industry is not for the faint of heart. So, yeah, I really appreciate it when people take the time to really give a record a good listen and to share their insights about it, especially when those are positive insights, as they were with, like you said, with No Depression. So I feel very fortunate. I've been trying to follow the path, try to make decisions that keep me staying true to myself and to the arts. So far things are moving in a good direction. And yeah, that's how I found Nielsen. That's how the first record got made. And, now we're on to the second and I'm talking to you and, and it's, yeah, it feels really good to be out there. And it also feels good to be touring again and to be able to be on the road.
that's great. I can't help but ask you, how did you come up with the name Evermore Nest?
It's a question I get quite a bit. They're I they're just three words that I read that were in a poem that I came across in a literary journal. I have a background in poetry. I got my MFA at University of New Orleans, and kind of in some of my earlier songwriting days, spent a lot of time in that literature world. So yeah, when I was considering a change from Kelcy Mae, which people constantly misspelled, and that was just like, okay, this is not the right, this is not working for me. So I was like, well, I want a change of sound. I want a change of everything, basically. Yeah, there was something about those three words where I just felt like that felt like home. I love nature. I love the concept of time and infinity. And, I don't know, there's just something about Evermore Nest that that just really sparked something in me. The poet's name is Mary Ann Salmon,
Hmm.
and yeah, I think she teaches in West Virginia, maybe.
It's a yeah. And now I've got to go look that poem up, which I will do
Well, good luck. It was in a literary journal, so I don't know if it's in
if it's even
any of
available,
her
right?
collections or not. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, as they say, we have ways. We'll see if we can find it. That's for sure. My special guest today is Kelcy Mae Willburn, who records under the band name of Evermore Nest. Her new album, her sophomore album, which came out on August the 19th, 2022, is titled Out Here Now. It is one of the most beautiful albums that I have heard in 2022. I can't tell you how much I recommend it. It is so wonderful, and I play a lot on my show. The first album that Evermore Nest put out in 2018 is called The Place That You Call Home. You can see more about Evermore Nest on the website at evermorenest.com and also on social media at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I can't tell you what a pleasure it has been to have you on the show today, Kelcy. Thank you so
Oh,
much for
thank you,
joining me
Greg.
here.
Oh, I so appreciate it.
Let's go out on another song that you've chosen from the brand new album, and it's called My Story.
That's yes, especially since we did a little bit of chatting about my upbringing. I think this is an appropriate place to end.
I think so as well. Very best to you. I do hope when you get out touring in the Pacific Northwest, we're starting to get back into the studio now ourselves. If you're touring up between Seattle and Vancouver, BC, love to have you stop in the studio and do some acoustic songs for us.
Awesome. I would love that as well.